say the average YouTube viewer shuts down his brain completely when commenting, with the only thing left being the primitive side. Everyone on YouTube is fucking retarded.
It's like an icy prison out there. I feel like Riddick in Butcher Bay. At least he had food though. Those protein waffles sound good right now. I guess I could play a video game and make a video on it for my YouTube channel. Ah, yeah, let's kill some time by killing some fucking inmates. The Chronicles of Riddick Escape from Butcher Bay was released for the original Xbox back in 2004 and developed by two different companies, Starbreeze Studios and Tygon Studios. The game starts off with Riddick on an icy planet hunting down a monster looking like he did in the second movie with long hair and a beard. After successfully killing the monster, Riddick is spoken to by a disembodied voice who asks him about his eyes and how he got them. This causes Riddick to recall the time he was sent to a maximum security prison called Butcher Bay. So the whole game is actually a flashback of Riddick's time spent in Butcher Bay, which is a really cool take on how to make a tie-in prequel video game based on a movie franchise. And as you all probably have guessed by this point, it's about him trying to escape Butcher Bay. Now for starters, I want to just state that for the time that this came out in 2004, this is probably one of the best looking games I had ever seen. And on top of that, Vin Diesel himself worked side by side actively with the game developers using his likeness and his voice for the cutscenes and all the dialogue in the game.
I thought it was a pain talking, though it had always known its place before.
Which is awesome because I don't know about you, but I wouldn't want anyone other than Vin Diesel to play Riddick. Just imagine a new Riddick game in 2022, voiced by Chris Pratt. Now, Butcher Bay is a huge maximum security prison crawling with lowlifes who want to kill you. Getting on their good side is a huge part of the game. Doing quests for inmates, gathering intel on snitches, as well as carrying out hits on other inmates and dealing with corrupt prison guards. And this place is no joke. There are rules enforced while you're in the prison. If you're caught fighting or doing anything you're not supposed to, the guards will rush you and the security turrets will fire. And this usually ends up with you dying. For a good portion of this game, Riddick won't be able to use any firearms whatsoever. So relying on shivs, pipes, and knuckle weapons will be your best friends in combat. Which makes sense because you're in a prison, so having prison-like weapons makes it a little bit more immersive, I guess you could say. Stabbing the fuck out of people with sharp things. This is a fish. This brings a super visceral element to the game, whereas the movies in my opinion are pretty tame as far as violence goes. Escape from Butcher Bay is what I wish the movies were when it comes to gore, especially when you're in the mines and having to fight mutants. Boom! The melee combat in this game is really reminiscent of Breakdown on the original Xbox if anyone's ever played that. It feels really satisfying to hit people because you feel like your punches are actually connecting. And again, there's a fuck ton of blood. And that feeling is really important, especially when you're playing a game where it's mostly melee combat. Eventually though, you do get an arsenal of guns at your disposal, such as a pistol, a shotgun, assault rifle, and even a shock weapon. Hell, you'll even be controlling armored mech suits. But honestly, this game is more or less a stealth-based first-person shooter. I got a lot of Thief vibes if anyone's ever played those, which I'll get to in a minute. Granted, you can go in guns a-blazing, which I've done many times, but stepping into the shadows and taking enemies out quietly is just as fun.
I gotta drop him.
So going back to the Thief vibes, this game has a lot of stealth elements, obviously. One thing that you're able to do is when you kill an enemy guard, you can drag them into the shadows so their body can't be spotted by other guards sounding off the alarm. That's like super Thief. I love that. There's a variety of different unlockables to find in the form of cigarette packs. They can be found in random locations throughout the prison, sold to you by other inmates for a small price. There's even a way to make money through dice games and fighting in organized fights. And a lot of these elements, though I like them, slow the pace of the game down a lot because you're spending a lot of time doing fetch quests or trying to get money to buy things from other inmates, what have you. So, I don't know, it was never really advertised as a super fast-paced game, but in my opinion, it's kind of a downside. Not a big one though. There's not a whole lot in the way of power-ups, and I actually kind of like that. The only thing you'll be using is med stations, which are scattered around different zones. And they look like they would do more damage to you than actually heal you. But I guess it's appropriate for the setting and this world. Sci-fi! There are a few things I do dislike about this game. For example, certain areas I wasn't sure where to go. The map system isn't very helpful, and sometimes I was stumped as to what to do next. For example, there's just no indications of when you need to climb up a ledge or shimmy across overhanging pipes. But that's not really the game's fault. I mean, it kind of is. I would like a little bit of an indicator, something like a blinky light, because the game is dark as fuck, even though you can see in the dark. But really, again, that's just a nitpick. Another thing that's kind of tedious about this game is the load times. When you're traveling throughout the prison, you'll go through one corridor, have to load, and it does take a pretty long time to load, like maybe 15 seconds, which doesn't sound like a long time, but in the grand scheme of things for a video game, that's a pretty long time. And after loading in, you'll have to go through another corridor, which makes you load. So I don't know, again, it's another nitpicky thing. I don't really care all that much these days, but it's just something I noticed. It's all really good, and for the time that this came out, it could have went horribly. I mean, this game is on par with, like, I don't know, Half-Life almost, as far as like the scenery, the graphics, the voice acting. It's all really good, which is surprising that we never got another one in this day and age, or another Riddick movie for that matter. This is the perfect example of how you make a video game adaptation of a movie. And coming from an era where literally every fucking movie was turned into a shitty video game, it's a breath of fresh air playing this one. It towered over all of them. I'm not a die-hard fan of Pitch Black or the Chronicles of Riddick. I think Riddick himself is a great character. I think the world that he is in is really cool. The movies, from a filmmaking standpoint, I don't really like them. But Riddick is an anti-hero, someone who you're always rooting for. He's flawed, he has his own demons, and he's likable, which in my opinion is the perfect combination for a protagonist. This game was remade for the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 with a direct sequel under the title Assault on Dark Athena, with more content that picks up right where Butcher Bay left off. It's also a great game, and I highly recommend both. Even if you haven't seen the movies, any FPS lover will enjoy them. The other day, I rewatched both movies in preparation for this review, and I gotta say, I remember them being a lot better. Maybe that's just coming with age and, you know, my taste in movies and stuff like that. I remember them being a lot more gory than they actually were, especially Pitch Black. I remember that movie being like fucking disgusting, and it was kind of just meh. And the cinematography for it is really bad, and the editing too. It's something beautiful when a movie series can get made into a really good video game, so I highly recommend these games again if you guys want to play them. Anyway, you guys, that's going to do it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, be sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button down below, and please leave me a comment letting me know your thoughts on this game, or Pitch Black, or the Chronicles of Riddick movies. Thank you again for tuning in, and be sure to catch me on the next episode when I cover another game that was only on Xbox.